Get a mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. All right, man. Another wonderful episode of This Week in the PHFL. Man, we got a lot of content that we need to go over this week in today's show. We are going to take a look at, I guess, maybe a deep dive conversation, or at least maybe a surface level conversation with simulation versus competitive. It's definitely have sparked some conversations. We had an abrupt resignation from Coach Wolf. We definitely going to have to get security involved. There was a lot of threats that were made to a couple of coaches in the PHFL. So again, we definitely have to make sure that first and foremost, our coaches, our owners, our fans are safe. Are safe. And again, Coach Wolf, has communicated a couple of messages, and was extremely upset about the change from simulation to competitive. And I think, just looking at some of the results and looking at some of the scores, we can definitely see there's definitely a distinct difference between simulation and competitive. We'll also take a look at Week 6 review. We'll take a look at maybe overall team rankings. We'll go through some of the scores. But right now, I think we are a season and 7 games in, 6 games in. Let's take a look at maybe some of the overall rankings from a overall team perspective and see kind of, who's building the right way, who has what overall moves that have been made from free agency, draft, and dev development from a personnel perspective to see what your overall rankings are. We'll go through the PHFL power rankings. We have a fan submitted PHFL highlight, so we definitely want to make sure that we give our fans love who submits their favorite highlights of the weekend or of the game. We'll go through our draft recap part 2. We'll also have coach's speech. Off the field and the PHFL locker room. We'll go, behind the locker room, and then we also have our PHFL game of the week. But our first segment, what we're going to do is we had a 52-second video, so not a long video, but we had a video that was submitted, by a fan, and the fan, he definitely, took some time in this. In this video, and we definitely want to make sure, that we show love. So let's get you over to our fan submitted video from the Las Vegas Raiders win over the New England Patriots. Even have some music in the background.
Hey, let this shit run,
On who? On me. My affirmations over real beats. You on your shit, you the one. Ain't nobody fucking with the fuck. Hype me up, hype me up, hype me up. I hype me up. I got 99 problems, but I got 100 reasons. If it rains, sleet, or snow, I'ma ball air seeds. Cause I gotta hype me up, hype me up, hype me up. I hype me up. Say I'm enough. Even even when it's tough. I can fall 1,000,000 times and I'm still getting up. Bullshit it for the bird, broke shit it
I'm
for
not
the
sure
duck.
this is
Early
the voice
bird
sounds
get the
like it's
worm
Glorilla.
first. He laughing, bitch, I'm
I'm
woke.
not
I
100%
know I
sure, but
can, I know I
I
can
would
do.
appreciate it. Some Biggie Smalls probably would have appreciated. Again, I'm not a TikTok guy, so again, we definitely want to give love to the content creator. The Las Vegas fan base is definitely behind Coach Coach Casino rather, who's right now 4-2. Maybe a little bit different choice of music for my taste. But again, we definitely want to make sure, we give love and give a shout out again to the, to our fans who definitely support the PHFL. So now let's go take a look at, again, we're pretty much wrapping up week number 6. And looking at, some of the highlights. Again, Cincinnati, we may have to, there's a lot of challenges in Cincinnati, but again, the Cardinals, they knocked off the Bengals. Let's look at the Chargers and the Bills. That could have been maybe a bracket buster in that game. Let's take a look at. Wow, you know what? Hold on. Let's put a pause right here. We had 6 team members, or 6 coaches rather. Man, Coach Ballin, Coach BG, Coach Yales. I mean, shout out to Coach Woe, shout out to Coach Twitch, man. I mean, they had faith in the old ball coach. Again, all them other niggas can you know what? This is a children's show, so we definitely have some sponsors, so we want to make sure that we keep it as G-rated as possible. But again, let's see whether or not anybody is on track for a dev. This Cleveland, not Cleveland, but the Colts in Tennessee, because it looks like the Colts guy is active. So let's see who. There it is. That's the L right there, man. Okay, so Dolph. Okay, I'm assuming he picked himself. So I don't think we have any winners for this week right here. It looks like, again, that Tennessee and Colts, the Denver and the Raiders, again, would have been a bracket buster. Man, only 2 people, and I think I was one of them that picked the Jaguars over the Seahawks. Man, that, you know what, that kind of makes it tough when that one game keeps you away from getting your superstar dev. Buffalo and the Chargers. Let's see, and that was again 50-50. Old ball coach goes with his AFC West compadre, and yep, again, that was kind of 50-50. So that could have went either way. Oh man, so the Vikings over the Cowboys. Yep, man, look, we had everything going pretty much down the line. This was the one right here. Man, this was 5-4. I think I picked Coach Marr in this one. Let's see. Listen, man, I was right there. Give me my dev, man. Give me my dev. Oh man, again, a lot of again, you could just tell kind of the gameplay. And just, again, kind of you can see the difference. Again, the Tennessee Titans over the Indianapolis Colts 27-23. Again, we talked about Coach Wolf and the security threat to the PHFL. Again, a lot of talent in Miami. So this should be one of the rosters that should be easy to fill with the amount of talent that they have in Miami and South Beach. The Eagles, again, disappointing, falling to 0-6 on the season, losing to the New York Football Giants 34-26. Denver getting their first victory of the season over the Raiders 38-21. The Jacksonville Jaguars moved to 4-2 in the season, knocking off the Seattle Seahawks 48-35. The LA Chargers moved to 5-1, knocking off the Buffalo Bills 43-35. The Vikings go to 5-1 on the season, 33-17 over the Cowboys. And again, this was arguably one of the more exciting games of the season. Let's take a look at the stats. The New England Patriots knocked off the Carolina Panthers 48-47. Bryce Young with 504 yards of offense. So I just stopped right here. So I'm thinking, if you look at this, okay, so I haven't, shown turnovers yet. 4 sacks taken by New England, 2 by Carolina. There had to be a lot of turnovers here because you score 48 points, right? And you only have 257 yards of total offense. You were 4-for-11 on third downs. Only 12 first downs versus 23. That means you scored at least 14 to 21 points on the defensive side of the ball. And interceptions thrown, 5 interceptions. There it is right there, turnovers. So again, looking at the recap for the players, Drake May, 17 for 26, solid outing, 217 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Bryce Young throwing 45 times for a Coach Shump-led team is not going to be a successful endeavor. Now, again, could be a matter of, down in the score and they had to go with more of a up-tempo offense, but 22 for 45, under 50%, 500 yards, 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Trevor Etienne, 17 for 142. But again, just the 5 turnovers. And if you go in and look at it from a defensive perspective, I said, what did I say, 14? Oh, no, they scored 21 points. Yeah, you can that's the recipe right there. 21 points on the defense. Offense did just enough. And the New England Patriots were able to upset the Carolina Panthers 48 to 47. So again, just looking at, the week number 6, again, just a lot of competitive games. Looks like we are definitely ready to move on to the next step. But now let's take a look at kind of overall. I want to look at overall and see, what teams are building, especially when you get to the top. Right now, the number 1 team overall is your Kansas City Chiefs. So Kansas City Chiefs right now are 89 overall. Detroit Lions are 89. Atlanta Falcons are an 88. They do have 4 injuries, so a lot of injuries out there in ATL. Buffalo is an 87. Philadelphia an 87. Baltimore is an 87. Green Bay an 86. And then you get down to 85 with pretty much probably majority of the teams are going to fall right into that bucket with San Francisco, Cleveland, Tampa Bay, Dallas, Arizona, Denver, the Raiders, Pittsburgh, Miami, Washington, and Chicago. So again, looking at kind of the bottom tier, and I don't think you can probably consider, I think anything maybe under an 82, you would have to look at it. Again, those are 2 teams. Again, you got to look at Jacksonville. Not sure what's going on with Coach hit them up in the development of talent in Jacksonville, but right now, just from a overall roster perspective, the Jacksonville Jaguars have the worst roster in the PHFL. So let's look at, again, maybe their talent overall. Let's look at the roster and see, are there any type of, development opportunities? Of course, you're going to have, you got your Brian Thomas. He's a superstar. He should have been already a superstar probably coming into the league. Josh Allen, of course. Trav, of course. I believe this linebacker starts as a superstar. I'm 99% sure. Looks like he might have Trav up. But again, let's look at and see how many star players do we have that has a small sample. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 players right now that are at a star level for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So you probably got to look at, again, and let's look at it from a contrast perspective. Let's take a look at Atlanta. Atlanta, and we're going to just look at stars. So it could be, again, something that, Jacksonville has to look at from either a development perspective or just look at it from a talent acquisition perspective, because that's where you're going to really make the kind of the meat and potatoes of your roster is those star players and developing those star players. So again, you look at Atlanta 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 15 star players. So again, those is really the heart, I don't say heart and soul, but as far as really moving to the next level, those star players really makes the difference, for your team being able to, again, develop those from a star to a superstar, especially if they get the opportunities to be able to perform on the field. So, again, just taking a look at behind the scenes, some of the talent in the PHFL regarding dev and regarding, building that roster. So let's now go in and take a look at, in our next segment, let's take a look at a couple of the, locker rooms and walking off the field. we were able first to catch the New York Giants after their victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. So we got Coach Brian Daboll, Coach TDG Daboll, got him out to the locker room giving a victory speech in the locker room.
I'm so damn proud of you, okay? 60-minute game, all the way to the end, everybody contributing, doing your job, and that's what it takes in December football. The game ball is going to go to the offensive line. Proud as hell of you, okay? Dex.
Let's keep feeling this feeling, man. Let's go. Johnson 3. 1, 2, 3.
Keep fighting.
And again, great victory by
I don't really like committing to things. I'm scared. But when Verizon announced that I could lock in a low price for 3 years, I mean, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
And again, we're able to catch, Coach TDG Daboll after, their victory over the over the Philadelphia Eagles. We caught up with Coach Wolf after, he, kind of cussed everybody out, told everybody to eat a dick and goat's balls and hyena nuts and, just all types of weird, fetishes that Coach Wolf is normally associated with. But again, we caught up with him after a tough loss. Just kind of confusing in the locker room, some of the, the communication, to the reporters. But again, we did catch up with Coach Wolf after a tough loss.
A shorter field position, and you had an offense that went 3 and out. That's literally the only way that could happen. And so yeah, we all get to share the blame, in my opinion, or at least know the locker room felt 100% responsible. I think that's what you want. I think there's a lot of people that are going to be. It's going to be tough to go to sleep tonight, including myself. So, not something that you can do and expect to win football games. And
yeah, got a little confusing, lost his thoughts there. But again, shout out to Coach Wolf, wherever he's hiding, whatever bush he's waiting for Coach BG at, whatever, brothel that he frequents in South Florida. Hopefully, again, he has success in his future, endeavors. Again, shout out to Coach Wolf. Again, we did catch up with the New York Jets as they ran off the field. Again, a hard, tough victory against the shout out to Coach Yales. I see you, baby. A tough victory over the Baltimore Ravens. So again, let's get to take a look at the Jets, or get some of the sights and sounds from the Jets running off the field against the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah! Jets win. Yeah.
Yes, a W.
Let's go! Yes!
I mean, just excited. Again, and you want to be able to appreciate the love of the game and have that type of excitement. Again, this is not new for Coach Shifty. Again, just building a successful program, when it comes to going into an organization and giving those organizations, an opportunity to feel success and give the fans, a taste of victory. But I think, again, as we all know, the postseason is the challenge for Coach Shifty, and again, that's what we're going to be looking for. But again, it's definitely good to be able to see the fans enjoy. And again, it was a great game. A game that went literally back and forth. So again, you definitely want to make sure that, again, the fans, they have an opportunity, to be able to share as the teams come off the locker room or come out of the, come off the field and heading into the locker room. So now let's get to our next segment, which is our PHFL Power Rankings. Our top two, little change in the top two. There was some legal, I believe, issues that popped up in the PHFL that we'll get to as we go through our power rankings. Again, now starting off with our first two, is number one. There's no change in the number one team right now, and that is your Kansas City Chiefs. Right now, again, it's the Chiefs league. as far as, number one, again, they are the team to beat, followed by the Atlanta Falcons, who have moved up to number 2 in the power ranking. Coming up on number 3 in the power ranking is your Detroit Lions. Again, the Lions right now, just strictly from a offensive perspective, are arguably playing at probably the most elite level, especially with the addition of J.J. McCarthy. They're putting up points at a record pace, and right now this team is extremely scary, especially now with the legal troubles that have been uncovered with our PHFL TMZ report. So again, more to come on that as we get down the PHFL power rankings. But again, we definitely want to shout out the Detroit Lions and what they're doing from an offensive perspective. Coming in at number 4 in the PHFL power rankings is the New York Giants. Again, their only loss this season thus far was to the Detroit Lions. Again, Jackson Dart is having an amazing season. And again, the Giants are going to definitely be a tough out. So again, they have a couple of good games coming up, on the schedule. So again, you definitely, especially with Malik Neighbors, again, just a lot of talent in New York. Coach TDG has definitely made some great, development as far as their players are concerned. So again, the Giants right now are coming in as the number 4 team in the PHFL power ranking. Coming in at number 5 is your Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings right now, again, coming off a good win, a good solid win over the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm not sure whether or not it's like addition by subtraction, but I don't know how you can just get rid of a superstar quarterback and actually play better. Again, but you got to look at it and maybe again just and even looking at from a statistical perspective, they got Cam Miller. He was 24 for 43, 474 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Jahmyr Gibbs didn't really do anything from the ground perspective. However, everybody knows Coach Balling loves the running backs out of the backfield. And who led the Minnesota Vikings in receptions? Of course, Jahmyr Gibbs, 9 receptions, 131 yards. So, again, everybody looked at that trade and wasn't 100% understanding of it. But, man, if you look at it and look at the contributions that Jahmyr Gibbs is having thus far, again, you probably have to say right now, after a couple of weeks, it's a win for both teams. So, again, the Vikings are coming in at number 5. Coming in at number 6 in this week's power ranking is your Carolina Panthers, again at 5-1. Suffered a tough loss to the New England Patriots, 48-47. But again, the Panthers normally play a physical brand of football. They normally, again, commit to the run. They just got kind of out of their element in that game against New England. Again, kind of got into an up and down, almost like a shootout. And then you see Bryce Young with the 5 interceptions. So, again, not necessarily indicative of their style of play going forward. Again, looking at it from a defensive perspective, top 10 in points allowed, top 10 in yards allowed, top 10 in passing yards allowed, and top 10 in rushing yards allowed. So, again, a defensive team that's definitely, a team really that's focused more on defense. And, again, looking at their upcoming schedule, they have Houston, they have Arizona. Not sure whether or not we're going to be able to fill the vacancy in Miami. It should be relatively easy. And then they have a nice, tough stretch with Buffalo, Atlanta, Seattle, Tampa Bay, and Detroit, and the Jets. That's a good stretch. So hold on. Let me back up. So you got Buffalo, That's going to be a test. You got Atlanta. That's going to be a test. You got Seattle. That's going to be a test. Tampa Bay. That's going to be a test. Detroit and the Jets. So you're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 straight games. So this is going to really, give us a tale of how serious or how much of a threat the Panthers will be, going into the second half of the season. But right now, again, they're coming in at number 6 in the PHFL power ranking. Coming in at number 7 is your Los Angeles Chargers. Again, normally just a team right now that is just, playing at a consistent level. It's going to be very interesting to see, how they adjust to the new play style. I don't think, again, they just knocked off the Buffalo Bills. I don't think it's going to be, too much of a adjustment. But again, we definitely want to see, again, some of the philosophical and coaching from an X's and O's perspective from the Chargers. Again, just looking at their game against the Buffalo Bills, Hampton, 21 carries, 138 yards. Justin Herbert, 19 for 28. 277, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They did pick off Josh Allen 5 times in the game. But again, we definitely want to look at, the Chargers going forward. Have a big game coming up in our PHFL game of the week that we'll talk about in 1 second. Coming in at number 8 in the PHFL power ranking, making their first appearance is the Cleveland Browns at 5-1. Again, Cleveland Browns, Coach FB is definitely building, something, in Cleveland right now. So, this team right now is definitely an exciting team. This is a team right now, again, that we definitely have to keep our eyes on in the AFC North division. Again, looking at it, they got Cincinnati coming up. So right now they have San Francisco. It's going to be a win. Cincinnati should be a win. Baltimore, they'll probably be favored, but, Baltimore has a lot of talent. So, we'll give that 51-49. Then you have Green Bay. Then you have Baltimore again. Then you have Pittsburgh and Houston. So they can definitely stack up some wins before they close the season at week 15, 16, 17, and 18 with Minnesota, Detroit, New England, and the Chargers. So you definitely want to, again, take the opportunity to stack up some wins so that way you can kind of solidify your playoff positioning. But right now, again, the Cleveland Browns are coming in at number 8. Our PHFL team of the week, we got to give them kudos. Again, they're 5-1 on the season. Making their first appearance is the Arizona Cardinals. So, again, shout out to Coach Cronic. Again, the team is 5-1. You are what you say. You are what your record says you are. And right now, the Cardinals are at 5-1 on the season. So again, shout out to Coach Cronic, and again, just coming off an 80-point explosion against the Cincinnati Bengals. So again, looking at their upcoming schedule, they can stack some wins. You may be talking about Coach Cronic leading the Cardinals to the playoffs. So they got a big game coming up after their bye against the Carolina Panthers. Then they have the Houston Texans. Then they have the New York Giants, the LA Rams, and the Atlanta Falcons. So that Panther and Falcons game is definitely going to be a tough road for the Cardinals. But again, if they can get a victory over Cincinnati, get that 6th victory, get a victory over Houston, that could be number 7, and then get a victory over the Rams, number 8. If they do take a loss to Carolina, the Giants, and Atlanta, they already got 8 wins. So they can be 8-4, heading into week number 13 where they play San Francisco and Tennessee. So now they do end the season with Minnesota and Tampa Bay. So those are going to be 2 tough games. But this looks like a schedule that the Cardinals could come out with probably 10 wins on the season. So again, we definitely want to, give a tip of the cap to the Arizona Cardinals this week as our PHFL surprise team of the week. And again, we right now, we have some inside information from TMZ, and right now, the from the league office, there was a subpoena that was sent to the Green Bay Packers, and right now, it appears that Coach Spot may have been a puffy freak-off victim. From my understanding, he was the lubricant and lube liaison, between the sex workers and Puffy. We are not sure how accurate that is. That's some of the reporting that's been, on social media. We saw that on Instatalk, and so we're right now trying to, get with our sources. We try to reach out to Coach Spot, and unfortunately, he has denied, our request for an interview. We have no idea where he is, but right now, from our understanding, he was the guy that, he would lube up, people's Achilles. He would lube up, people's ACLs. He was, from my understanding, they called him sensual hand Spot. So, I don't know. I'm only reporting. I'm only the media. I'm only the PHFL media. And from my understanding, he has, some sensual fingers that, people like to have their hamstrings, massaged and tendered to, before they go to the freak off. So again, not sure. We don't want to, sensationalize this type of story because again, it is, some people were impacted by it, but right now, we don't have Coach Spot's side of the story, and right now he's been, MIA. So again, more to come, on tomorrow's show. Hopefully, we'll have an opportunity to speak with Coach Spot and be able to again and find out whether or not there's any validity behind his subpoena to the freak off trial. So let's get you over to take a look at right now. We talked about some of the draft choices in part one of our draft recap, and just take a look at what some of the rookies have been doing thus far. Again, normally with the PHFL, you do have a couple of rookies that normally make some type of step and contributions, in the PHFL. So looking at the rookies thus far, from a quarterback perspective, there really wasn't any top-tier quarterbacks that were taken. So right now, until we get a New Orleans Saints owner, right now, Nico is not going to have that type of hands-on development. But again, when you look at defensive leaders and look at interceptions, Caleb Downs has 8 interceptions. He's going to be an X factor. Julian Humphrey has 7. So, looking at, again, some of the leaders from the secondary perspective, these guys are balling out. Julian Humphrey even has a half a sack. So, again, you're talking about a guy right now, Caleb Downs. This almost really should be almost like an X factor. Right now he's got 8 interceptions in like 6 games. So, again, this guy right now is definitely headed towards, that X factor status. And then looking at sacks in the PHFL, Christian Miller for the Giants. Again, he has 8.5 sacks. So, again, they're just, and that was one of the things that was talked about during the offseason is, that they traded Dexter Lawrence, and again, they have his replacement. So Christian Miller right now with 8.5 sacks definitely is filling those shoes. And then when you got Burns and you have Carter on the opposite sides, he should definitely get a lot of one-on-one attention. So again, he should definitely have his opportunities to win some of those one-on-one battles. Looking at rushing, Reuben Owens is leading the rookies in yardage with 324 rushing yards. Jaheim White is second with 304 yards for our rushing leaders amongst our rookies. And then looking at rushing touchdowns, Jeremiah Love with 5 rushing touchdowns on the season. Normally where you'll really see kind of the big rookies really is receiving. That's where you're going to really see the rookie impact, and you see J. Michael again 688 yards with 10 touchdowns. You see Baron Brown 626 yards. You see Grizel 503 and Delp 498. Then when you look at the receiving touchdowns, again Grizel and J. Michael with 10 apiece, with Kelly and Delp with 9 apiece. So that's normally in the PHFL. Just kind of depending on the coaching style, you'll normally see kind of those big impact and wow plays, at least from an offensive perspective. You'll see those more in the receiving area than you will see in the in rushing. So again, and then looking at some of the we talked about this in week number 1 of the PHFL. Let's go to like one of the users. who drafted. I mean, we already talked about. We saw J. Michael and Harold Perkins from the Chargers. So you have to really tip your hat to the Chargers. They had an excellent draft because these two guys are contributing to a 5-1 team. We talked about Mateo last week. We talked about T.J. Parker. We already saw Baron Brown from the Cleveland Browns. So again, you're looking at Caleb Downs. So you're talking about right now guys right now who are making an impact, in the top 15 of the draft. So again, it's definitely, again, these teams have made some great choices. We saw Jaheim White. So again, pretty much everybody like in that. Let's look at Carolina. I know they drafted a cornerback. That was one of their needs. A lot of the players that we're seeing right now that was drafted in the first round are making an impact on their teams, on their respective teams. So again, Mansour Delane, 6'1", 192 pounds, 4'3", scheme. He has a 92 speed, 92 excel, 77 awareness, 88 man, and 75 zone. So let's look at kind of the game log and see whether or not, any of this has translated to the field. Right now, he has no interceptions. Not necessarily a fantasy guru or a fantasy contributor. If you're into the PHFL fantasy and you're picking, maybe that'd be a thing that we need to roll out and do a PHFL fantasy. Everybody put up like 10 points. We have a PHF. And you know what? Some people are cheat. I don't know, man. Can we do that? Can we do a PHFL fantasy draft? And, we'll have, but see, if everybody participates and everybody puts up $5, and you know what? Hey, Coach Schiff, man, let's see whether or not we can we keep your regular teams. You got to play, you got to play as normal, and let's do a PHFL, fantasy league with PHFL. I think that'll be crazy. We can put up, if I can put up $5 or $10, you can have, just $300, and then split it. Super Bowl winner get 200, and the runner-up gets 100, or they get their contribution back. So again, something to think about, food for thought. But looking at Delane again, no interceptions. It doesn't. I wish they would show how many catches were allowed. Oh no, it does. So catches allowed. Now again, wow, he allowed, but that's a CPU, so we're not going to count that, and we're not going to count that. Okay, so in the user game, so let's look at user games against Tampa Bay, no catches allowed. Philly, no catches allowed, and then New England, no catches allowed. Okay, hey, look, it may be a lockdown corner. He hasn't allowed a catch in a user game. Now again, he had 2 tackles so that's 4. No tackles against Tampa Bay, but 4 tackles. But again, no catches allowed. So you gotta definitely tip your hat. Let's look at. Let me see if there's another cornerback here that we can look at from the Colts. Let's take a look at him. He was a top 6 pick, Terrell. So let's look at him. 5'11", 185, 91 speed, 90 XL, 84 man, 78 zone. I'm not sure how many user games have the Colts played, but just looking at it from a game log perspective, again, this guy was a top 10 pick. So you would hope from a development perspective that they would be shutting down the field. Again, I'm not sure if they played this game, but he hasn't allowed a lot of catches. He played in the game against Arizona for sure. He had 1 tackle, didn't have allowed a catch. So definitely some good statistical performances thus far from our rookies. So again, that's definitely something that we can look at, as we go along and analyze our rookies. Now, let's get into our final segment, which is our Week 7 PHFL game of the week. And this one here is just a battle of, 2 AFC West teams. And right now, this is a battle of 2 teams in matchups where these are the only 2 teams that face each other that have a winning record, which is the Los Angeles Chargers against your Las Vegas Raiders. Again, So why wouldn't you stay if that's the case? I don't know what you're talking about, Mar. Let's go with the Chargers against the Raiders. So right now, the prediction from Vegas is 34-24 Chargers over the Raiders. From an offensive perspective, the Chargers have the better offense, ranked number 5, versus the Chargers at number 20. Scoring offense, again, both of them top 20, 12 and 19 respectively. Defensive, not a stalwart defensive, rankings from both 15 and 12, and then scoring defense also 17 and 12. So we're going to look at, again, there's going to be some opportunities for both teams to be able to score points. Just really looking at it from a defensive perspective, both teams, again, kind of in that mid to bottom tier in defense. So we're going to look at the the Chargers to pull out a 10-point victory, 34-24 over the Las Vegas Raiders, who are right now 4-2, just had a tough loss versus the Denver Broncos. So just kind of recapping everything. Again, another great episode. We talked about, sim versus comp. Again, we had a coach that, we had to take him off the field, with armed security. Just definitely was not feeling the change. And I think if we are honest, we have to play on comp. We can't go with a simulation base game style. Hopefully, as Madden 26 comes and the game evolves, that it'll give us at least some type of hybrid. But simulation right now, just in the PHFL, was just producing some unrealistic results. And I think, those who are honest with themselves can probably look at it and say, yeah, just from a game perspective, it just didn't provide the type of balance and really the type of overall visual beauty and aesthetics that we are accustomed to when playing on comp. We talked about, again, week 6 review. We're pretty much going to be advancing to week 7 shortly. We went through our PHFL power rankings, where again the Kansas City Chiefs are number 1, followed by the Atlanta Falcons, the Detroit Lions, the New York Giants, the Minnesota Vikings, the Carolina Panthers, the LA Chargers, the Cleveland Browns, and our PHFL surprise team of the week is your Arizona Cardinals, coming in at 5-1. And right now, again, the whereabouts of Coach Spot right now is unknown. There's been a lot of different rumors that that have been circulated on social media. Again, we're trying to track down the validity of some of these claims. But again, it's realistic, Coach yells, but man, some of the stuff, again, you can feel the difference as a user on competitive versus sim. You absolutely can. So I think, again, it just doesn't give a balance. It's regardless of what mode you play and how bad or how good you are as a user, there's no way you should be scoring 99 points. Like it's really no balance. So again, I think this will be a ongoing debate, again, sim versus comp. But again, if we are honest, for the most part, we try sim 1 or 2 seasons and then normally go back to our mode based off of a vote. And previously sim won by a landslide. Like everybody voted on sim. And I think this go around, I don't think it was let me see if I can find the results. I don't think it was close. I think comp literally was a 2-1 favorite. Let me look at it. It was 15-5. So it wasn't even close. And you had 2 that said eat a dick, and you had 3 that said I guess they didn't care. So, but for the most part, it was 15-5. So it wasn't even close. So again, we have to, again, as the democratic process that we go through in the PHFL, we put it to a vote, and only 5 people wanted sim. So again, this will be an ongoing conversation. But right now, again, the league is thriving. We have a couple of new members that are interested in joining. So again, we'll continue to move upward. They're dropping some Madden 26 content, and then also they drop in a couple of things with gameplay with NCAA. So of course we're going to have PHFL Game Day live via NCAA. So again, this is only the start of what we're going to do to continue to grow our brand and continue to grow the Powerhouse Football League. So This is your boy, the All Ball Coach, signing out live from our studios right outside of Washington, D.C., where the weather is 82 degrees and sunny. This is your boy, and I'm out.